Hi, welcome to the Jen and Margie Show.
Our goal is to engage our community in interesting and thoughtful conversation on the events of the day.
And find out what's happening in the world. We really would love to have you join the conversation. So at the bottom of the screen, you can see the number to call in, 508-435-7880. There's a hashtag Jen and Margie Show, or just hashtag Jen and Margie. Or you can email us at live@hcam.tv. We would love to have you join the conversation.
Hey Margie, how are you?
Great, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's been quite a week.
Yes, lots
Yes,
of
it
changes, lots of things happening in the world.
I want to say I love your Hopkinton Hillers gear.
Yep, it's not mine, it's my daughter's.
I'm sure she's loving that you just said that.
She doesn't know I have it on because, yeah. Thanks, Molly.
No, it's great. I was looking around my house for some gear and couldn't get my hands on some, but I love it. It is the same colors as my high school, my Farmingdale High School from Long Island.
No way.
Yep, absolutely, green and white.
Cool.
And so I love that we have a little bit of orange splash in there, but very nice.
Thank you.
Very, very nice.
Yeah, mine, I went to Newton South High School. We were blue and, like cobalt blue and orange. Newton South. Lions, I think we were. I don't know.
It's amazing who comes up with these colors. Who knows?
I don't know.
Who knows? So let's talk about Hopkinton graduation.
Yes.
Exciting week for these kids,
yeah.
Adults. Shouldn't call them kids. Adults with their entire lives ahead of them,
Yes,
right?
although I did hear that the brain isn't fully formed until age 25.
We just want to remind everybody that the brain is not fully formed until age 25.
So-
Good to know.
Yeah, but they can vote, 18, they can vote, they can fight in the war, so adult, yes,
Selective adults.
yes.
So it's funny, you talk about voting. When I was in high school, one of my initiatives was registering our entire senior class to vote. And I feel very strongly about that.
Yes.
And I think that was part of where my love of politics came into play. But
Cool.
certainly, out of 580 students, I think we registered 400 people to vote. I don't know if all of them ever voted ever, if they voted once or 1,000 times,
Yeah.
but certainly having that in front of them was pretty incredible, and I felt really accomplished.
Because you were class president, right?
I know,
Or
I
how did-
wasn't the class.
so what did-
I was president of a club called the Common Sense Club.
Okay.
I don't really know why, and I'm sure my kids probably think that's an impossibility and an oxymoron. But certainly, it was just a club that was there to raise awareness around politics. That's all it was. And
good.
I don't even know what we really did, except that
You got people to vote. You registered them.
and hopefully we got them to vote.
That's great.
Right, we have a voice. We all want a voice in the world. So
That's great.
Yeah. So let's talk about some people that you wanted to to mention
Well,
and give shout outs for.
Absolutely. So I know a few things about the graduation. I did not go this year because I don't have a graduate, and I really miss this class in terms of coaching soccer or teaching them. So I'm not as aware of the players, but I know that Colleen Fritchie, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing that name wrong, was the valedictorian.
Yay, Colleen!
Yay!
Congratulations.
And so as a valedictorian, she gave a speech, and her main point, as I understand it from what I read, was that her advice is live a balanced life. So that means
couldn't we all do with that?
exactly. So not study, and not play,
Right.
but balance that. Have a real life, have some common sense, like you were saying, not so common, but it sounds like she has it.
Yep.
And she said that she just competed with herself, which I love. And I have to tell you, one of the things I've done in my career is work with a fabulous teacher named Julia Page at Elmwood School in 3rd grade, and I don't know if Colleen had her. I would love it if Colleen called in to let us know where she got her good common sense. But Julia Page, one of the quotes that I remember, because she kind of gave her class a lot of good advice and had sayings up around the room. She's still there at Elmwood School. She said, "Don't compare and don't compete, just do your best."
I love that.
I love that.
I love that. If we could just get all the good advice from all the teachers out there and get them to our table, right, at night when we're having dinner with our family.
The table's not big enough.
Not this, that's right. But just have our kids hear some of what's out there.
Yes, exactly. And Emily Mastriani was the class president.
Nice.
And I would love it if she called in, or someone who saw some of the speeches
How long did
heard-
these kids speak, though?
Well, it depends on the kid. You know, I think they can go 5 to 15.
That's amazing.
I don't know.
That's got to be a very difficult thing to do. You've got
Oh,
1,000
yeah.
people in front of you and 18 years old, and you're speaking.
Absolutely.
from
Although
the heart.
I have to say that one of the jobs I had to do some public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And another person who was also doing public speaking said to me, you know what? Every single person out there wants you to do well.
Of course.
There's no one sitting there saying, oh, I can't wait for her to make a mistake. I'm just listening. So, you know, everyone who does public speaking should know they're
People
cheering
are
you
rooting
on.
for you, right.
Exactly.
Right,
And they
they're rooting
really
for
want to
you.
hear what you have to say, and they're glad it's not them up there.
Exactly.
And Claire Wu was a salutatorian. So I would love to hear any comments on what people remember them talking about and what the wisdom was from their speeches. But I did check out some national graduation quotes.
Did you watch the entire Hopkinton Hillers graduation?
No.
Oh,
That's what
I
I'm
think
saying.
I didn't do that.
Yes.
I'd like to see that.
Yes, that was on my list of things to do. But that's why I'm hoping people come. I do remember last year, though, I went and I loved, was it last year or the year before? They had this fabulous segment where they interviewed little kids.
Oh.
Oh, it was so great.
That's very
On their
sweet.
advice to graduates. It was the cutest thing.
That's very sweet.
Yes, it was fabulous. I feel like it was last.
Did you see this week? Somebody sent me a link on the Hopkinton Hillers carpool karaoke
Yes.
with Evan Bishop
I couldn't open that.
as the principal. You couldn't open it, so
No.
that was hysterical.
I
that
bet
was
it was.
very funny, and I love James Corden's
I do too.
carpool karaoke, and so this was great. And so a big shout out to the teachers and the students who were really into it. It was a lot of fun.
It was great. And what was the song they were doing again?
Oh, they did. I think it was like a medley. Yeah, they did a
okay.
medley, and they did
All
it with
right.
like Officer Phil was there too, and there
Yeah.
was teachers. It was great.
Yeah, I went to
It
look
was
for it
really
and it said
great.
it wasn't available, but I don't know if it's because I don't know why.
All right.
Anyway,
See what we can do.
some national graduation quotes that I looked up.
Okay.
Robert De Niro spoke at Brown University. He said that graduates should work for change and a better world. Mark Zuckerberg, of course, is a Facebook guy, spoke at Harvard, and he said to have a sense of purpose, because purpose is what creates happiness. So it could be something really simple, as long you're the guy who cleans that washroom and it's perfectly clean and spotless and sparkling, and you know it's really important for the employees to come into that washroom.
You own it.
You have a sense of purpose. You're happy. Simple, happy. Will Ferrell, who I love, comedian at University of Southern California, said, think beyond yourself. Think empathy, kindness as signs of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, very important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's all kinds. There are multiple intelligences. That's a whole nother conversation.
It's a whole other segment.
Yeah. Michael Bloomberg, of course, is an amazing businessman. He spoke at Villanova, said patriotism today requires courage to stand up to do the right thing and do what's hard. You know?
He's also a huge philanthropist as well.
Yes, because he's right. He said, stand up when actions put our great American experiment at risk. So don't just go along to get along, but if you see something that needs to be spoken up about, speak up.
I like that.
Yeah, very brave. And Bernie Sanders at Brooklyn College said, think big, not small, and help us create the nation that we know we can become.
So that was interesting. I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall at that entire graduation speech.
Yeah, he's a pretty amazing guy.
I'm sure some people think that, and I'm sure
well,
some people don't.
Well, and I totally agree with you. My son was at UMass, and he was advocating for Bernie, and I wasn't sure actually about Bernie, but I do respect his integrity. I respect that he's really dedicated and believes in what he's saying, and he can rally support. How old is he? It's like 80.
I have no idea.
Old guy, but he's still got it. You know, he's got the fire and he's got the will and the great message. You know, he means well. It's good common sense. So you had a quote from
with that phrase.
I like it.
Yeah.
You had a quote from somebody.
From Theo Epstein.
Yes.
Yeah, that was great. That was he did the Yale graduation, and so it talks about he told the story about when he was the general manager for the Red Sox, and now he's at the Chicago Cubs. But he went on in the beginning to thank all of his family and friends, and he's a Yale grad. And at the end of his speech, he basically said, I just love this, and I don't want to read this, and bore everybody, but it says, "I'm truly inspired by the traits that distinguish your generation. Your diversity, your boldness, your optimism, your tolerance, your treatment of others based on substance rather than the labels that used to divide us. I'm so excited to see what lies ahead for you all. While there'll be undoubtedly times here and there when you have to suck it up, follow that code, put on that suit and tie, I urge you to remember to stay together." So it's really, he said, the most important thing is to, hold on one second.
Stay together.
Right. Keep your heads up, come together to connect, and rally around one another, especially those who need it the most. It is likely to uplift you all, right? So
That's great.
The sum of the parts, right, is really just what I think he's talking about, is to come together, especially in this time where it's insane. It's insane. But I like his little shout out there.
It's great.
Yeah.
And that makes me think of a team, like Red Sox team.
It sounds like a coach
Right?
talking
It
to
does.
his players.
Team plays together. They
Right.
do better. We're better together.
Right.
Connect.
Do you remember your high school graduation?
Yes, I do. We had 501 students.
Okay.
Yeah, Newton South, 501. A lot of people. I don't remember what they said. I remember where I sat because I'm visual. I remember what my mom wore. It's like that.
I remember our valedictorian talking about, she actually pulled a quote from a Bob Dylan song.
Cool.
Yeah, and which was not, it's interesting because it was really, Bob Dylan wasn't our era, but she made it certainly relevant, and so I remember that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Do you know what the quote was?
No, it's from a song. I have no idea.
He's kind of a philosopher.
Yeah.
He's got
Poet.
A poet, yeah. Mm-hmm. Poet philosopher guy. So those kind of quotes can be very, they can last a long time. No matter how, what generation. Sometimes there's wisdom of the ages, so to speak.
Exactly.
So Oprah Winfrey, not that she's old.
Love Oprah.
Yeah, I do too. She spoke at Skidmore College, and what I did was I condensed to what I thought was the main point. So she encouraged graduates to listen to their inner voice and follow the flow. She's kind of spiritual. So she's basically saying, you know where you're supposed to go. And if you listen to your heart, like the Pocahontas song, whatever. But no, that's a song. But anyway, so she,
that was the point.
Listen to your heart. Sorry. Anyway, so then Howard Schultz, who I never heard of his name before, but he's the CEO of
Does anybody
Starbucks.
know who Howard Schultz is?
CEO of Starbucks.
There we go.
I had to look it up.
Okay.
Spoke at Arizona State, and he said he based his business on values and humility, not profit. I thought this was really good advice.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and he started in public housing, and now he's an international success.
Right.
He encouraged graduates to summon compassion, curiosity, empathy towards others, and a commitment to service, to give more than you receive, and it will come back to you in ways you can't possibly imagine. I love that.
I do love that too.
I didn't even know who he was.
That's like the basis
But
of all
he's like my favorite.
right?
Yeah. And then Elizabeth Warren spoke at UMass Amherst. She encouraged the graduates to take control of their future and become part of shaping it and getting involved in something they believe in. Sounds a little like Bernie Sanders and Bob De Niro. So working to change the future. So don't just sit back, do something. If you see something that you think needs changing, do it. I thought that was really cool. And then I did find that Donald Trump spoke at Liberty University, which I didn't know where that was or what it was.
Where is it?
So I looked that up. It's a private nonprofit Christian university classified as a doctoral research university. The chancellor is Jerry Falwell Jr.
Oh, like the televangelist Falwell's from
yes,
the
his
Falwell?
son. The school colors are red, white, and blue, and it's located in Lynchburg, Virginia. It's the largest evangelical university in the world, founded in 1971. They have a Division I NCAA team called the Liberty Flames in the Big South Conference. 15,000 residential, 100,000 online students undergrad. He encouraged students to follow their dreams and never give up, which is great advice.
I love that, yeah.
Great advice. The more people, then this sounds to me like a typical Donald Trump, and this is part of what people like about him. The more people tell you it's not possible, that it can't be done, the more you should be absolutely determined to prove them wrong. Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation. I actually love that.
How many times do you hear about that, right? People that have
Yeah.
risen from the ashes
Exactly.
and created something.
Yeah.
Not just materialistic wise, but really created movements
Right.
and created social change. That's what's so important. Before I had kids, I thought, I want my kids to be successful and I want them to have plenty of money. And now, after having children, I just want them to be kind human beings. I don't think that we're kind enough to each other all the time. And I think that a lot of this social media is really making us unkind
Sure.
to each other.
Right.
And I think that that would be my graduation address to any student, whether you're a high schooler, an elementary school child, or a doctoral student in astrophysics. I would say be kind to each other. It really does make a difference.
It does.
Even just driving here tonight, I was trying to get out from a parking lot onto Main Street in Hopkinton, and people are flying by, and I thought, what if we just slowed down for 5 minutes and just said, okay, go ahead, you just be a
know.
little more,
Right. Let the person in.
let the
Someone
person,
told me,
literally and figuratively, let the person in.
yes, totally. Someone told me that you're not supposed to stop because some kind of traffic
probably
law.
a good rule of thumb. It was a red light, and people were still coming, and it was so I could have come out of this parking lot. So people were ahead of me, people behind me, and they just
Running
blocked,
red lights.
They were blocking the exit where I could get out into the street.
Well, in the future,
was
there's
just
going to be a
rude.
camera on everything. Just like they
I feel like there is a camera on everything now.
Well, they already do pay by plate.
They
so
do.
some mysterious
Exactly,
thing
yeah.
somewhere is taking a picture of the plate at whatever point. I do see that thing of that whatever it's called, scaffolding that's got all the cameras
Yes.
on it, but it doesn't seem it's in the middle of the road. It's not on the exit ramp. But anyway, what I'm saying is at the street lights, they may have an ability to take a picture for people. Anyway, not here yet.
So there would be a fine for being rude?
Yes, it
Could
should
there
be a rude
fine?
fine.
There is a rude fine. Okay, I like that. So anybody who would support a rude fine, please call in.
Yes. And what do you think of that? Is a rude fine a good idea, or is it punitive? And what should it be?
That's right.
What should that fine be?
Community service. That's what it should be.
Right. So then I had just four more.
Yeah, I'd love to hear.
Pharrell Williams.
Who
with
sings
Happy
the happy song,
yes.
right?
So he, at New York University, he encouraged graduates to give back to the world, no surprise, because that's what he's all about.
Right.
Promote equality and keep on learning. He also said they should talk about their accomplishments and be humble, but not be invisible. So he's saying it's okay to say, hey, look what I did, but not be over the top about it.
Keep your humility.
Keep your humility, but not be under the doormat with humbleness. So he's got a little balance there too, humility, not humbleness. Arnold Schwarzenegger was at University of Houston saying, what it's all about is helping others, don't just think about yourself. That was the nugget of that one.
Do you ever think how do they decide on who they're going to get to speak at their commencement exercises?
I
don't
wonder
really
if there's
know.
a list of people that are available.
Do they get paid?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I bet some
if
do and
anybody
some
knows,
don't.
that would be
Yeah.
helpful to
I
understand.
wonder
that.
about that.
Like, does Arnold Schwarzenegger command a $200,000
I had no idea.
speaker fee? That's
Good-
interesting.
Good point.
Yeah.
Because I know, I would think some people would have a speaker fee and some people would give it, give it a break. Two more and then we're going to go to break.
Yeah.
Joe Biden was at Colby College in Waterville, Maine. He said there are always challenges that seem too daunting for one person to have any impact to make a difference. But he said individuals always make a difference.
Isn't
So,
that the truth?
I think that's really amazing and
It takes a
brave.
village, right?
Yeah, but he's saying, do something, like the other quote. And
Absolutely.
then Mike Pence spoke at the University of Notre Dame. He said to be leaders for the freedom of thought and expression, and several students walked out of his speech.
So why do you think they walked out of his speech?
I think
Do they
they
think
had already
because they said be
planned-
leaders for the freedom of thought and expression, and that was their way of saying that's our thought and expression?
And because they're not sure there is as much freedom of thought and expression now. I don't know, but I thought it was interesting.
Well, it's always interesting nevertheless. We're going to take a short commercial break, and we will be right back.
Yes.
Welcome to Hopkinton Coffee Break.
A very special dessert done by a woman from Hopkinton that
Yes.
I've started using regularly.
We had your residents participating both as vendors and as shoppers, and that was so much fun.
Real Hopkinton Housewives. If you're on Facebook, you will have a blast. Thanks for joining
Cheers, guys.
us. Had a great.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to see you
See
too.
you guys.
Bye.
Have you ever considered texting and driving? If so, you should know the consequences. If caught texting and driving for the first time, you could get an $100 fine plus your license taken away for 60 days. The consequences only get worse the more you get caught. Even if you don't get caught, there could be serious effects. You could get into a car accident and hurt yourself or someone else. Texting and driving is a very dangerous combination, so stop before this happens to you.
This week on HCAM Television.
They say we're young and we don't know. We won't find out until we grow.
Thanks for joining us again. We had one more thing to say about graduation.
Well, a couple things. I just want to tell you that we just had an email in from Tracy, and Tracy said that approximately 30% of colleges pay for their commencement speakers.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Tracy. Shout out
Perfect.
to Tracy. That seems high, doesn't it?
A third? I don't know.
It's according to Money Magazine. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. If a third of colleges are paying for their commencement, I think that's actually pretty nice, because that means that the 2/3 are not being paid, correct?
Yeah.
So it's out of the generosity of their hearts and their interest in giving some advice to graduates. I think that's really cool that they would do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I like the wardrobe change.
What wardrobe change?
I don't even know.
Because we're not doing local stuff anymore.
No, I love it. We'll always talk about local Hopkinton. We love Hopkinton.
Of course, yeah.
Absolutely. Just a couple things. We're talking about graduation, and we're talking about like the pressure of, we
Yeah.
have high schoolers still, and talking about
Yes.
the pressure of applying to colleges. And what do you think about Harvard University rescinding the applications of 10 students because of memes that were on the internet and things that were not nice? Talk about trying to be kind to
Bullying.
each other. What is that about? So now
Yeah.
you've essentially, the hard part is getting into Harvard, and now that is taken away from these students. So interesting to hear anybody's thoughts about that. As a parent, I don't know what I would do with that.
Well, they're
aside from
setting a standard.
horrible disappointment, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They're setting a standard, and it's a shame for the students that were the example. And I think that's actually, in my mind, that's the way that any punishment happens. You know, you have to set a line, say, well, if we let this guy go 70 miles an hour, then the next guy's going to go 80. You know, so you have to set the speed limit at 65 in order to keep a rein on that. But I'm wondering if, in this case, it wasn't just one kid; it was a bunch. You know,
Yeah.
so they really needed to stop that train, wherever that train was, and really make a statement. Unfortunately.
Right.
So I really can't say what I would have a hard time with that, because I would look at all sides of it and could understand all of that. That's a tough decision to have to make.
It is. So the Boston Globe today in the Metro section talks about some higher education specialists saying that the punishment is appropriate, but others said that Harvard ignored its own claim to embrace free speech, and it missed the opportunity to educate those students about their poor choices.
Aha.
Right? Isn't
I agree with both of those.
I do too. It's hard to argue that.
Right.
It is difficult. So what is it that they're learning, these students? What lesson do you think that they're learning, everybody? Is that,
Yeah.
you know, now this mistake will define their educational career? People misstep all the time. We all make mistakes. So why is it that this is
Right. And it's actually, I can remember trying to give my kids a timeout. So some
still try and give them
right.
10. It doesn't really
so
work.
so some they shall remain nameless, but one child would not stay in the chair. So you need to go to the timeout chair and take a break. They didn't want to stay in that chair. So another kid would stay in the chair, but they wouldn't necessarily learn what the lesson was. And another kid would sit there, okay. So how
these
many children here in this situation? So 10 kids say, I don't know how many, you said 10?
10 kids.
So 10,
That's what they're saying,
two of
yeah.
them might get it and never do anything wrong again. Two of them might be really mad
Right.
and go off the planet.
Right.
And then, 3 of them might be in between, and 3 more of them might go into police work and no, I'm just kidding. It's just a joke. But they might go into some kind of administrative position where they could then lay down the law for other people because they took it to heart so
So
much.
you never know what happens with these decisions along our journey, right? How they do pivot us in different directions for sure.
Right.
But if there are any parents who want to call and email, Facebook us, or
We wonder what you think about this 10 people being punished.
what if these were one of your kids?
Mm-hmm.
And any educators that are wanting to be part of the conversation about
Yes.
this, do you think this was an appropriate action and decision based on these circumstances?
So what
interesting.
exactly are they're expelled?
They actually they were not even there. They were admitted to Harvard entering in. Yep, and that's what happened.
So they were admitted, but then some
They're
research
supposed
was
to go
done.
in the fall.
You're supposed to go in the fall.
That's it.
Okay,
Gonzo.
so the only good thing about that is that they then can apply and get into another university. It would be
So-
worse if they were already in the school.
So I'm John Smith.
Okay.
And you would think by June already everybody's
Right.
got.
True.
So now they go to.
Yeah.
How do
Community
you
college.
explain that? No, I'm sure. Listen, if you're Harvard, if you get into Harvard, I'm sure you're getting into some other Ivy League or some
Right.
other higher echelon school in
Right.
terms of their
And they probably
academic
were accepted
requirements.
elsewhere.
Right. So then do you go back
Yeah.
and say, "Hi, I'm here now." What is the feeling of possibly those other educational institutions finding out and saying, "We don't really want that kind of behavior here," or, I mean, is this guilty till proven innocent? Is this something that
Yeah.
are they going to be blacklisted? So that's pretty scary to think
Well,
about that.
And I would hope that as there were 2 different ways of looking at it, that there would be some schools who would say free speech, their kids, and educate them and just say, we don't do that here, and here's what would happen if that did
Right.
occur. That would be a good way to go about that. I wonder if there's anyone local or if anyone knows about one of these kids who was caught up in this, or if there are some kids who were
Interesting,
involved
yeah.
in bullying or photographs that shouldn't be shared or anything like that goes on in social media. Social media can be quicksand.
I think
You
that's
start
a
doing
great way
things
to put it.
and you don't know where it's going to go.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just thinking about, as a parent, I wonder if I would feel any kind of legal recourse with this.
I bet there are. I bet they are thinking about that. Maybe there was thinking legally, maybe
Just
there
saying,
was
put your
no.
litigious hat on, right?
Right. Maybe there was no statement regarding the children's behavior in high school,
Right.
and they are already admitted. Was there a statement on the admission papers saying if the student is found to be, misbehaving in these certain ways, then we reserve the right to discontinue or not
I have no idea.
admit them. But that's what I'm saying. There could be legal recourse if there was language in the acceptance papers. But
I think they have they have the auspice to do whatever they want, basically, right?
Yeah,
They're
so-
private institutions. They're, it's up to their decision. So I certainly, you talk about the pressure and things that are going on about these memes that are happening and all
Right.
of that. Just it's very scary to think about.
right.
Very, very scary.
How would you explain a meme?
A meme is something that continues from my children. This is what they tell
Right.
me. Something that continues on
It's a
and on
loop.
and on. Yeah, it just
Right.
keeps going and
Yep.
going and going.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was a loop of
Ladies, a meme is a picture with words on it.
picture
that
with
goes
words on
viral.
it that goes on and on.
a picture with words
Thank
on
you,
it that
voice
goes
from the
viral.
sound booth.
So what's really interesting is that Max.
Sometimes they move though, right?
So somebody who knows my son has a very distinctive hairstyle.
Yes.
And he put his high school IDs from junior high school actually through about 4 years, and his photo with his hair became a meme. Yes, so interesting.
Did he have words on it, or was it
I think
moving?
somebody put words on it. I don't know.
Yeah.
He didn't. I don't know if he put words
Yeah.
on it. So
I've seen some Minion memes that are kind of fun. Yeah.
Oh,
So, or dogs doing a silly. I've seen them. I just didn't know how. If we wanted to explain it, because maybe some people wouldn't know what it was.
okay.
Yeah.
So Lewis says in another email that pops up that there is a clause in the acceptance letters from Harvard.
Well, there it is.
Don't know where we're getting that information. Where he's
Thank
getting that
you.
information
Thank you,
from.
Lewis.
Thank you, Lewis. So
Yeah. Well, that's what I thought. Because I would think if Harvard is this renowned, venerable institution, that they would have to have legs to stand on if they accepted people and then said, no, sorry, we made a mistake.
Right.
They would have to, in order to retain their reputation, in order to continue to have students apply.
right. It's a scary thing. I've got to tell you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be a parent or that student at that moment
No,
to say
exactly. Right. And we wish them the best. Whoever these poor 10 kids are, I feel really bad for them.
or the kids that were on the other side of
Oh, even
the
worse. Right.
alleged bullying
Yeah.
and social
Inappropriate meme.
injustices, we'll call them. Yeah,
Yeah.
inappropriate for sure. And I think even in another article it talks about Yale,
Mm-hmm.
and they say with memes, sharing the joke is an easy way to go too far.
Right.
Like we've all misspoke and thought a joke was a joke at a party, and it really wasn't. It might have been in bad taste. So this goes, a viral bad taste.
Right.
So certainly, there was a student at Yale that said he had to delete offensive jokes posted by 17,000 members of a Facebook page he founded, Yale Memes for Special Snowflake Teens. So it definitely is, it can go in the direction of, the best intentions
Yeah.
can go certainly awry.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. And I have to say, even I think politically, just to step on thin ice here, I think some of the things that are posted about Donald Trump are completely making fun of him, and they're memes. His hair is flying off, and I saw one today where he had the tan was here, and then the white was here, and his hair was back. But again, this is a person, however you want to think of him, and whomever you voted for, he put himself on the line. He opened up. Really, to run for president.
He opened up his entire
You have to open
life
up
and his family and-
everything. I don't know if he has opened up his taxes yet, but you have to be able to, hey, there's a lot of public scrutiny that goes on. So as much as some of them are very funny, they're also a little cruel, and just.
Again, goes back to our be kind. I'm going to
Exactly.
get a bumper sticker. If anybody wants to put a bumper sticker on my car that says be kind,
Oh, do you want to really say that?
maybe on my windshield on the back, not on the
On the
back
window.
of the car, on the window part,
Yeah.
not on the actual paint part.
That's where I
be
put-
kind. I like.
Yeah, be kind.
Actually, I'm just going to order one tonight and put it on my car and see.
Kindness matters.
Kindness does matter. It really does.
Yeah.
So what else is happening in the college and graduation world this week?
Well, I think a lot of colleges are on break. I know with my daughter, we're going to try to visit some colleges over the summer.
We were just having that conversation today.
Yep, and two of the ones, and she really is not sure where she wants to go.
But she's a sophomore.
She's a sophomore.
My son's a junior.
Yeah.
Love to hear from parents. When do you start the college trek? Because we haven't seen one.
Well, here's
Not
the thing.
one.
My oldest knew at age 9 that she wanted to go to Wellesley College.
I love it.
And she went to Wellesley College, but they're not all like that. So it's that people are, kids are at different stages. I think some could benefit from a gap year, really.
Absolutely.
Figure out who am I? What do I want to do? Where am I going to put the money? Where do I want to live?
Right.
I think that's a really cool thing if a kid can do that. I'm thinking of someone in town here. Can I name a name? All right, so
I
someone in
can't
town.
stop you from doing anything. You can do whatever you want.
So Eric Beauregard, the really cool guy that actually made Eagle Scout.
Yay.
And
Shout out to the
under
Eagle
my
Scouts.
with some assistance from your guidance. When I think he went on a canoeing trip. Unless that was Mark Garner. So one of them, because they were all together.
Okay.
But
Supporting each other.
Right. So they kind of explored the world a little bit before they went back and figured out what they want to do for a living. And I'm not a living necessarily, because sometimes it's just higher education and you're developing your knowledge.
Right.
And then one of the classes you take, my ex-husband, one of the things that I loved about him was that he majored in wildlife. No, he went in as an accounting major because he's really brilliant in math and science, but he took a wildlife biology class. Bing! That's what he wanted to do. He loved it so much.
Okay.
He worked for the government, I think in Long Island.
Long Island. Another shout out
Studying
to
the piping plover, and because there were some needed
Piping
to
plover
protect.
is a beach bird.
Exactly.
Yes, with a long beak.
Needed to protect their areas where they nested on Long Island. And I know there's a hard G because I've heard people say that before. But anyway, but that was at the time when Newt Gingrich shut down the government. And it was a government job because it was through U.S.
interesting.
Wildlife and Fisheries. So then he was like, no, I can't have that job. So then he went back and took computer classes, and now he's a computer programmer.
So you're going, I like, by the way, that you can talk with kindness about your ex-husband.
Well,
That's
I
always
married
nice.
him. I loved him. there are some really great things about him.
I love that.
We just
so-
couldn't be married.
And that happens. That
Yep.
happens. But so where are you going to visit colleges with Molly now? Are you
Oh,
gonna,
yes, right. Loop back. So my oldest is in Georgia.
Yep.
So on the way to Georgia, there is, and I looked at the map, Udell, which I know a lot of Hopkinton kids
My
went
cousin
to.
went to University of Delaware.
Yeah, and
She
people
loved it.
love it, exactly. So Udell is one place on the route, and then Elon, and she said, Mom, it's not Elon, it's Elon. I'm not saying it right, E-L-O-N, however you say it.
So a lot of Hopkinton kids go to
Love
Elon.
that too.
Yeah.
So that's the plan, because Elon is about 4 hours from Atlanta, where my oldest is, and Udell is about 5 hours from here.
So two very different schools, though.
Yes.
Small, more suburban, ruralish, private, small.
Right.
And University of Delaware, state school, large.
Yes.
More suburban environment. Yeah.
Right. And so I'm really not sure. I think for me, I think it's important to get the kid on the campus. There's so much you can look at online and say, oh, look at that, the building, and look at those programs. But until you get there and you feel it, you don't know.
So I love the fact that you're just going to let her. Let's go see.
Let's go see.
Maybe she won't like either of them.
Right.
But then she'll know.
Right.
Then
And
she'll
that's
know.
actually my 9-year-old was on the Wellesley College campus with my parents, because my mom went to Wellesley. So she was on the campus and just loved it. I loved the building. She loved being there.
Right.
Conversely, when we went to visit Johns Hopkins, which is an amazing school, and she's
Beautiful
now a doctoral candidate in clinical psych. So it would have been in her wheelhouse and a great place to go. But we walked on campus. We both got a headache. I don't know what that's saying.
And that was that.
No, but then the guy who took us around said, you don't want to go off campus because it's Baltimore. So stay on campus, and then,
Goodness gracious.
and so we both were like, no, that didn't really work for us.
Right.
Great school.
So you found a way to make it all work for you and all
Yeah.
of this. So that's what we're hoping to do this summer. We've got 2 on hand, and we're
Yeah.
hoping to get through them and then see what happens. And I know kids that have never gone to a campus and applied there and gone and had
Gotta
great
go.
experiences. So we're going to take a short break.
Yeah.
We will be right back.
I Am Day with a recognition of everyone's uniqueness. Hopkins School students and staff wrote character traits about themselves and paraded through the halls to celebrate.
Scout Troop 68067 has been working on their Bronze Award on bullying and self-esteem.
And I Am Day was part of this project. Thank you for watching.
Hello, welcome to HCAM Insights. Did you know that Hopkinton's television station has a virtual plethora of virtual methods to keep you connected to everything Hopkinton? In addition to our TV channels and website, we have a monster Facebook presence, daily email updates, a Twitter account, an RSS feed, and a little button for Google+. And yes, I don't know what that one does either. But anyway, if it's Hopkinton's social media you're looking for HCAM.
This is your segment, my love.
Thank you so much for your emails and tweets and texts and...
Well, no tweets yet, but
tweets.
But emails and texts and and information. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, because we want this to be a community conversation. We do start talking about ourselves, but we really want to hear what you have to say. So now we're going to talk about the Paris Accords, the Paris Agreement.
Which seems like 100 years ago already. So it's been a week now that some of this information has come to light. And Margie's done a great job about researching and just kind of figuring out where things are.
Well, I think what I found really interesting, I forget when it was. Was it June 1st that Donald Trump said he's pulling out of the Paris Accord?
I'm not sure.
Because, and I understand his perspective. He's a businessman. He's about the art of the deal. That's his book. So he doesn't feel that the United States has a good deal. I understand.
Right.
And so he's trying to negotiate a better deal or waiting for a better deal to come along for the United States. I understand that piece. What's the issues here, a few things are that he said, first of all, started by saying that climate change was a hoax, and that one other thing where he raised some hackles a little bit was, and actually was quite a catchy line, he said he's representing Pittsburgh, not Paris. So he's saying he's trying to represent the United States and trying to get a better deal. People from Pittsburgh did not like that he used that name. It was catchy, but the mayor, Bill Peduto, said that he stands with the world and wants to follow the guidelines of the Paris Agreement for people, country, and future, and that the manufacturing jobs have been gone for many years. So it's not because of the Paris Agreement that I think you said, you looked up and said Obama signed in
2015.
Yeah,
that's when it was.
And interestingly,
so not to be confused with a treaty,
Thank
which would
you.
be mandated, something that is, this is a recommendation.
yes, an agreement. We agree
Right.
to do this,
Right.
but there is no, there's no punishment. Again, back to the other thing. There's nothing signed saying we have to do this. We promise to do this.
Right.
It's like we would like to do this because we think it's right.
Right, so we have an email from James saying,
Yay.
He never mentioned quote unquote climate change when he announced the withdrawal. Never, so that's.
So what's that about? Yeah.
If we're talking about the climate and you're withdrawing, why wouldn't you mention climate change? So.
Yeah, because and actually, not to speak for Donald Trump,
Right.
but I firmly believe that he's looking at it as a business deal, and he's thinking, okay, I would like the United States to have some more jobs. I'd like the coal miners to get some more work. I would like to bring more revenue in here. I get that, but then we have, India and China, who are the number 2 and 3 polluters after the United States, which is the number 1 polluter.
Ouch.
Sorry.
Ouch.
But that's what it said. And but China, interestingly enough, has done some wonderful work on this. Have solutions. Coal use in China has declined for 3 years, and has the biggest solar market and is the biggest investor in renewable energy. That's China.
Okay.
Then India has electric cars. That's what they're promoting. So both of those huge polluters, huge countries, huge populations see this as a real thing and are taking steps. Some other solutions, solar is going to be cheaper than coal in 10 years. Many more
That's
U.S.
amazing.
jobs are in solar than coal now. Some U.S. cities are converting from oil and coal to other sources of energy. Iowa had 37% of wind power. in 2016, which is amazing to me, although Iowa is that flat, there's probably a lot of wind in the middle there. I know,
You know what?
Dorothy got blown away by that tornado.
I remember that. I
Yeah.
remember that. We're talking about electric cars for a second.
Yeah.
Outside the Golden Spoon, or the Spoon,
Yes,
is an electric car
I
charger.
saw that.
Right. So shout out.
Kudos.
To, yeah. But you think about it, right? Well, let's be more progressive. But we have to. Our pocketbook and mindset has to catch up with buying electric into the electric model, and
Right.
really. So I envision a day where there'll be 20 electric.
bank.
Yeah. When you drive on the Pike and on I forget where else. It might be 95. Through all the rest stops,
Yeah.
they have actually charging stations for Teslas. So
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So someone in town must have a Tesla or a rechargeable.
Well, these are on the interstates. These are as
yeah, but
as
I'm
I'm
saying
driving.
Hopkinton, someone must have
I'm sure
suggested. I thought it was a car wash.
Oh, really?
I said, "Oh, look, there's a place," because I hadn't driven up to it and I hadn't seen it. But that was amazing when I saw that.
Yep. So that's interesting. That was really, I like that.
Yeah.
Like to see more
so
of that.
Hopkinton's very
We're
future.
getting more progressive.
And we have so much solar. We have Select Energy here.
Yeah.
Solar panels, a lot of solar panels.
Wasn't there I feel like there was an incentive in Hopkinton to have a certain amount of solar panels by a certain amount. So
Somebody could call in, let us know.
yeah, I remember that there was an initiative a few years ago. I want to say 7 years ago for the first go around.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, of solar panels in town, but an interesting thought. Yeah.
If enough households did it, the price went down. We put it on our house back then.
Enough households did it. The price went down. The voice from the sound booth again is
It's
thank you, Jim
amazing. That is
Cousins.
the most amazing sound booth tonight.
It's a one-man show. And so then another really cool thing that there are lots of clean energy jobs, 750,000 in the U.S.
What's a clean energy job?
Wind, solar,
Got it.
water, all of those that aren't fossil fuels and dirty oil.
Have you driven down to the Cape lately?
No.
To see those
Little wind
giant,
farm.
yeah.
It takes away.
It does take away from the skyline,
Yeah, I
or
agree.
from what you think should be the
Beautiful.
skyline of
Canal.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
looks a little different for sure. Yep.
So I just thought that was kind of cool that that India and China are moving forward and becoming leaders. Jerry Brown, governor of California, went out to talk with the leader of China. I think it's Jinping Li. No, sorry, Xi Jinping. So they have their last name first.
Right.
So he's a family of Xi, and his first name is Jinping. So
Okay.
The Chinese president met with Jerry Brown in Beijing. So this is an honored meeting. Jerry Brown was there for a renewable energy conference, met with him, and they're trying to figure out, to negotiate. So Jerry Brown is in effect representing the United States in having some talks about solutions for the climate
Love it.
challenge. Yes, it's amazing. I know Canada, Mexico, and Mexico's environmental ministers went to meet with Jerry Brown in California, because Jerry Brown, who is 79, has started to really represent well.
Do we have I'm just thinking, do we have a committee in town that,
Conservation Commission.
but is there something that's more, like I think conservation, I think wetlands, I think land. Do we have any kind of committee in town that is a renewable energy committee? Is there anything like that?
I'm not sure. Does the sound booth know that? Or would anybody like to call in and let us know? Do we have people
Is there
in town
anything
who are
like
talking
that?
about clean energy?
Like
renewable?
that's not privatized, something that is more on
Yeah,
the municipal
grassroots.
side and community based. So I don't know, that would be an interesting thing, or somebody should
Yeah.
look into that for sure.
Definitely. I like that. And the other thing, some other things I thought were interesting, and we would love to have you give us your thoughts or share some thoughts or knowledge that you have. We're just trying to share what we found. Coral reefs are suffering or disappearing, which means
Awful.
lost jobs. Air pollution causes 3 million deaths per year in the World Health Organization. And then climate migration is a possibility. So people like Alaskans, who all the polar ice is melting, and some people in Alaska are asking to relocate because it's not the same place anymore.
It's amazing when you think about that. That
Yeah.
people from Alaska,
Scary.
it's too warm in Alaska. But don't you feel like it's now not just a thunderstorm? It just
Yeah.
doesn't rain for 2 hours. It rained
Oh,
for.
my gosh.
I felt like we needed Noah's Ark here.
Exactly.
The
I was
last
just
few
saying
days.
that today.
That we were one day away from being underwater everywhere. It was
totally
awful.
agree. Yeah.
And I just drove past Lake Maspinock today, and it seemed very high.
Yes.
The water level was very high. I know they do drain it over the winter, and they get it back up, but it seemed exceedingly high today when I was driving through it.
I agree.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to me how nature compensates.
Mm-hmm.
Because last summer, my summer job is working as a day camp counselor, and the pond was a puddle and a mud flat. That's what we had.
Right.
And when I drove by there last week, it's back up, full to the brim.
That's nice.
So, yeah, I guess it's better than not enough water.
I would think so.
I don't know.
I would think so, but who knows?
So part of the fossil fuels, or part of the climate change that humans contribute to, burning fossil fuels, which are oil and coal, and another thing which I had never really thought about, raising cattle creates a lot of methane. A lot of methane.
Yes, it
A whole
does.
lot of methane. So that changes the environment and is bad for the ozone layer. And clear-cutting rainforests means that they're taking out some of the filters that we have. You know, the trees are amazing natural filters, and they clean the air because they take in the carbon dioxide and the pollutants, and they put out oxygen. So we're not producing as much oxygen if we're taking away our oxygen producers.
I'd love to hear from an environmentalist.
Yes.
Or somebody who is just really
Absolutely.
knowledgeable about what really is making this affect us so greatly. In the 70s, do you remember, maybe it was the early 80s, but I think it was the late 70s where there was a gas crisis.
Yes.
So gasoline was skyrocketing, there were lines for gasoline and all that, and they were saying that we only had enough gas for
To last.
6 years.
I know.
And that was it. And that was because we didn't know about the technology that would bring forth more resources, and we didn't know where there was other gas, and we didn't know where all this. So do you feel like we are in a situation where climate change is overrated, and we just don't really know everything yet, so don't worry about it, we can still fix it? Or do you think that this is real? I mean, the effects of it is happening today are real,
Right.
but we just haven't gotten to where we can figure it out yet.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that was Donald Trump's point. You know, he felt that there was much ado about nothing. And then you got Al Gore saying, no, there's a real problem here. So the science apparently supports climate change is a real thing, and it is damaging our environment.
It is. So two things just popped up. One
Great.
was an email. Hopkinton, we do have a Sustainable Green Committee.
Yay!
So we'd
Yay,
love if anybody
Hopkinton!
from the Sustainable Green Committee would love to hear more
Yes.
about that. That's
Yep.
and I
What
wonder
are we doing in Hopkinton I know there are solar panels, what else are we doing in Hopkinton to encourage sustainable greening?
Sustainable greening. I like that. Let's see.
Because
It actually says
Our school colors are green.
and orange. I love it. They are promoting sustainable and environmentally responsible practices in the town of Hopkinton. The committee will assist the town, government, businesses, and residents to implement sustainable policies and practices in the areas of energy, agriculture, conservation, and commerce. The committee will increase the public's awareness of important environmental issues through education and outreach. I love this.
I love it,
Whoever did
too.
the verbiage for this was
great.
genius. By fostering environmentally friendly practices in Hopkinton, the committee aims to enhance the quality of life for our residents, visitors, and future.
Thank you,
Residents.
Sustainable Green Committee.
So that's fantastic.
Fabulous.
And then I just did get an email from Lori. Thank you, Lori. And Lori says that she and her husband like the windmills on the way to the Cape, but remark all the time about how they're never moving. They do appear like they're in slow motion.
So
Yeah, 3 out of the 4, she said, are typically still. So
That's a
she
shame.
said, why have a windmill if it's not
I
doing
agree.
its thing? So
I
thank
agree.
you, Lori, for
We agree,
sending that
Lori.
in. We appreciate that.
Yeah, that's great. The other thing that Jim told us today is that Hawaii today signed the Paris Accord.
Which I love this. This is like when Texas wanted to secede from the United States. I love this. Like,
Yeah.
let's just, Trump says no, but let's go rogue. Who
Yep.
cares, right? I kind of like that, especially in what we're talking about.
Right.
Right.
And California, under Jerry Brown, met with Canada and Mexico. They signed it. I'm not sure if Hawaii was the first or if California had already signed.
I'm not quite sure.
But there definitely are people moving independently, Pittsburgh, moving independently to say, we stand with this. We agree with and so,
which is so interesting.
Paris Agreement.
Pittsburgh, you think Steelers. Pittsburgh, you think of traditional coal and that kind of thing. So it's nice that they would want to say, listen, we're going to go with the progressive thought here.
Exactly. And just also to point out, only the United States, Nicaragua, and Syria are not in the Paris Agreement.
Do you know why Nicaragua and Syria are not? Do we know why they chose not to be part of that?
Nope. Someone could let us know if they know this. But the main point of the agreement is that the nations agree to limit warming to 2 degrees Celsius, you know this,
right,
and avoid climate catastrophe. So it makes sense to me. We are a global family. It's really not just about the United States and our situation. But, you know, so all of these people in the world are starting to really look at this and think about how can we come together in this situation. I know Syria's having a terrible civil war. They probably don't have time to think about coal and oil and environment. They're just trying to survive over there. Nicaragua, I don't know. I think of Sandinistas under Nixon fighting.
Oh my gosh. Now we're dating
That's
ourselves because I remember
the only thing
that
that
too.
popped into my head was Sandinistas. I don't know.
We just do have a little bit of information coming up here in another email. So far, 9 states have joined. I actually can't see where it's from, but 9 states have joined to form the U.S. Climate Alliance to implement the Paris Accords goal of cutting carbon emissions by as much as 28% at the local level. So think about what we could do at the local level, right?
28%.
Turn your air conditioning, you know, not as low. Don't leave it on as long. Drive less, walk more. Those are the kind of things. Plant trees.
Absolutely. And I think also, I will say one thing I think Hopkinton does pretty well is recycle. So we have a huge, when I first got those 2 huge bins, I said, I can't. And I recycle a lot. So I would always put out a recycle bin a week or 2.
So remember, this is for those of you who are watching who are not from Hopkinton, that we just went from multiple pails of trash and recycle to a very large, I don't even know how many gallons it is, 1 recycle and 1 trash, and that's what we are limited to. And then there's always the recycle center we could bring things to along the way.
Right.
So I just wanted to say we do have to wrap it up.
Oh!
I know, it went really fast tonight.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize, no apologize.
Well, call in next time. We have such a good time talking. We'd love to have you talk too.
We love the emails. Continue the emails. We'll see you next week. Have a great week, everybody.